big milestone crossed after the holiday season, actually, over the holiday season. So the Switch, Nintendo Switch, lifetime sales now are over 52 million as of after the holiday season. Wow. Which eclipses the Super NES / Super Famicom, which did 49 million. Keep in mind, the Switch has not even been out for 3 years yet, which is so weird to say. It seems like it's only been out for like a year and a half, but it's been almost 3 years. March 2017 is when it came out.
That seems about right.
It feels like 3 years. It doesn't feel like 3 years to me. It feels like a year and a half to me. So I commented about it on Twitter. My take was to remember all the hot takes about the doom and gloom about the Switch from some journalists and some industry influencers and experts that were saying this is ridiculous. Why does Nintendo just go third party? Blah, 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 blah. We saw that. We talked about this. In hell, Reggie Fils-Aimé was in a video with Matt Pat where Matt Pat was arguing for that. Why did you just sell the Mario games on Sony and Microsoft systems? Where did that make sense? So, obviously, it's easy to say, we told you so about this. But I think what's more important is that Nintendo has done this in an environment when it's a lot more difficult to do this versus when the Super Nintendo was in existence.
Sure.
So when you look at those numbers and people are like, well, there's a lot more gamers now versus in the 90s. In the 90s, you had like 3 consoles to choose from when the Super Nintendo was out, and Nintendo was still like the dominant, sort of brand, and they're not anymore in terms of the market share. They're sharing with a lot more Microsoft, Sony, but they're sharing with mobile, and they're sharing with other platforms like Steam and computer games is a hell of a lot bigger now than it was in the early 90s. So it's a lot more difficult to make that impact. So, and plus, this is less than 3 years when the Super Nintendo was out for they were producing those systems for like 8 years. So sure. This is hugely significant there. I'm not licking Nintendo's taint here, but they've done a great job, obviously, bouncing back from the abysmal failure of the Wii U. And now the question just remains is that, okay, they're out for 3 years. How many iterations will we see of the Switch? They've announced that we're not going to come out with a different Switch in 2020. Everyone thought they probably would, but next year, who knows? Like, that'll be like we're entering the middle age of the system cycle. You want to catch up. You want to be able to do some ports of newer games from the next generation, and they're going to have to put out another Switch within the next couple of years.
Yeah, the Switch, as we know it, is going to, by nature, be a short-cycled system because of where it came out, when it came out. But they got it out, and people liked the concept. So I think an upgraded Switch, similar to something that we saw, maybe even a little bit more so than what we saw in line with like the Xbox One X or the PlayStation Pro. Mm-hmm. We're definitely, I mean, we have to see something like that at some point. You can't keep running with the power that the Switch has inside it, because as soon as the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox X
Series X,
the Xbox Series X comes out, yeah, it won't be playing in the same field anymore. It'll be two very divergent things.
It'll be a full step and a half behind instead of like a step.
So if you want ports or if you want anything that's on those other systems, they have to upgrade. And that's why I think it'll probably be a little bit more than the half measure like we got with the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X. I think what we'll see is something that's closer to a true successor to the Switch, but with obvious full backwards compatibility. But now that they've made the system, and now that it's done well, I think people would be more likely to keep buying into something that looks this way.
Sure, they've got the mold now. Now it's, of course, it's 3.5 years since they finalized the specs and the chip. Obviously, it's a lot quicker now. The chips, they can do that. The question is always going to be just the heat on these things.
Sure.
I mean, look at the Alienware one where they have freaking fans on a handheld on that prototype. I mean, you can't have a Switch with like fans on it.
There's fans on the Switch.
Oh, are there?
Yes.
Mini ones?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Then it can't be overheating your hand so much that it's going to burn it. Really?
That thing could not possibly not have fans.
I never hear them.
Oh, they're there.
Oh,
You can
okay.
see them, and like as they get older, like Vonnie has
Starting to go.
Vonnie's has used hers nearly every day for 3 years, and her fans, like, depending on how warm it is or whatever, you can hear her fans whir and click a bit.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're starting to click.
yeah, you can absolutely hear it.
Oh, okay.
There's definitely fans.
Okay. Then the question is, how big of fans can you put in it then to
Right.
keep the system small? Can you use an air duster on that?
Yeah,
Open it up.
It's just going,
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, there's fans. I think that the key is how you want to be able to keep your portable relatively silent. I think.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah, you don't want to be carrying around something that sounds like a console in your hand, using it on the bus, using it on a plane, trying to use it in a train.
So you have earphones on, you're listening to the game, and everyone around you's like, what the hell's going
Listen
on?
to the little jet engine in your hand try to take off. Yeah.
But the technology, I don't track the freaking Tegra chip stuff and whatever else. But I'm sure in 3 years is a huge amount of time in terms of the technology, in terms of what you can do. But will you get to the Super Switch being able to play like Red Dead 2? We'll see. We'll see if we get a version of that. Like that's always going to be the. I'm still hoping for the day where Nintendo can play like whatever the current GTA is. I'm still hoping for that day.
The Switch could probably play GTA 5. GTA 5 came out on PS3 and 360. The Switch is handling games that were on the PS3 and 360 just fine.
Wonder why Rockstar doesn't want to do that.
You wouldn't get the PS4 version.
Sure.
I don't know. I mean, by the time the Switch came out, they were already well into their Grand Theft Auto 5 is now Grand Theft Online, and
Sure,
they
okay.
just didn't want to.
What's the point of going back to
Right.
that well?
Exactly.
But for the future, though, if they see, here's the thing: what's also important about the amount of sales is it's proven that it can make you money if you're a third party, because obviously that was the big failure with the Wii U, and everyone stayed away. Besides, developers were turned off by the whole handheld thing. They didn't grasp that, and plus it was underpowered. Now, though, you're back to the point where the Wii was, where you had people even doing different game port versions of popular games on other systems. But now the Switch is close enough that you can just do straight ports, even though they're underpowered. The Wii was totally a different, sort of platform than the other consoles at the time. But now with the Switch, well, maybe we'll see that Red Dead 2 game on a Super Switch get ported. Rockstar will make money if they do it, so why not?
right.
They'll sell a few million of them probably. If there's 50 million attached within 3 years, where do you think it ends up now? 60 million, 75? You're gonna count like the Super Switch, like they do with like the 3DSs and things?
I think it really depends on how they define it, because like I said, as good as well as the Switch has done, I do think the Switch, as it is now, doesn't have much more than a couple years left before it fully has to become something else.
Before it transforms.
Right. Because, I mean, it's the blessing and the curse of the Switch. By mixing their console system and their handheld system divisions together, essentially, and having one item, they can't do what they did with the 3DS, which is just... The 3DS was a portable system. People weren't expecting at that point in time to get console quality games necessarily on a portable system.
Sure.
And they ran with a very low resolution screen and a low powered system for 8 years or something like that, because it was popular and people, like I said, they accept a cut in graphical quality and performance when they're dealing with a strictly portable system. Mm-hmm. But the Switch is not a strictly portable system. It's a system that hooks
a single
up
platform.
It's a single platform, and it hooks up to a TV, and people are going to want to see some of that whiz-bang wow stuff that they get with a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X system. So that's what I'm saying. Nintendo's not going to be able to just keep churning out this low-powered system for the next 4 years and get a full console generation out of it. They're not going to get a full console generation.
They're already
out of
stretching
this.
it.
They're already stretching it. And that's what I'm saying. They've got a great idea. The Switch is a great idea that works. It obviously works. It's sold like crazy. But that's why I think we really will either see something we'll get a follow-up to the Switch that's more powerful with full backwards compatibility. And I feel like Nintendo could be the type of company that would throw people a bone and still do some first party stuff that would run on both.
Sure.
Do some of that Xbox intergenerational stuff, essentially.
And in terms of, I saw a couple of people say like, well, the Switch Lite is a different system than the Switch. It's the same game platform. And plus the Switch Lite, I think I saw sold like 3 million. So it's 3 versus 49 million. It's still a ton for the Switch if you wanted to separate them out, which I don't think you should.
Well, I think, that's actually, I don't know that you should, but that's actually not a bad point. They could no. I was going to say they could take the Switch Lite and then try to re-split themselves off and have like a new Switch be more of a console and then the Switch Lite be the portable. But
why do that when this works so well?
Yeah, I don't think the Switch Lite has a big enough install base for that to actually gain momentum and take place.
I see the Switch Lite as either the one for your kid or your secondary console for really on the go.
Sure.
That's how I see it. And 3 million though is great so far.
Well, that's been since the summer.
It was a summer?
That was it, yeah.
Okay, that's
September, I think.
I thought that was late summer maybe. Anyway, so that's a fantastic sort of push right there. And okay, so we'll see probably the Super Switch in 2021.
Yeah.
No flying cars yet. We'll have a Super Switch. So they got to. I guess there still hasn't been a way to do the cooling without the fans that have been effective. Haven't figured that out yet. Like super metal technology. It doesn't melt the plastic on your Switch there. All right. Any last thoughts? Anything you want to tell the critics, like people doing those articles from the Atlantic or whatever, that are just like, Nintendo, this nostalgia is not going to take you past the next generation. It's like they got the game franchises, they got the software, right?
Yeah.